disappearance day of Jayadev Goswami. Okay, so we have what's called a Vaishnav calendar, and in the calendar are all the different days that great devotees appeared or incarnations. Today's a disappearance day of a great devotee called Sri Jayadev Goswami. 300 years ago, before the appearance of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Caitanya is the most recent incarnation of Krishna. He appeared around 550 years ago. Sri Jayadev Goswami served as the court pandit of Sri Lakshman Sen, king of Bengal. Jayadev and Padmavati, his wife and an expert dancer, used to worship Lord Sri Krishna with single-minded devotion. After some time, he left the opulent royal life to live peacefully in a grass hut in Champahati, Navadvip. Here Jayadev wrote Gita Govinda. One day, while working on Gita Govinda, Jayadev felt inspired to write Krishna bows down to touch the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. Radharani is Krishna's eternal consort. Jayadev was hesitant to say something that might diminish Lord Krishna's position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He went to refresh himself with the Ganges bath before honoring Radhamadava Mahaprasadam. In his absence, Krishna himself, disguised as Jayadev, came to the house of the poet. He wrote a line in the Gita Govinda, Dehi Pada Palavam Udaram, and accepted the prasadam from Padmavati. Upon returning, Jayadev was astonished to see the line. Understanding the mystery, Jayadev cried in spiritual joy and said, Padmavati, we are most fortunate. Sri Krishna himself has written the line, Deha Pada Palavam Udaram, and the separation that Sri Radhika felt before the Rasa dance. It also describes the most intimate pastimes of Radha Shyamasundar during Lord Chaitanya's Gambhira Leela in Jagannath Puri. He would thoroughly relish the Gita Govinda sung daily by Swarup Damodar and Mukunda. After finishing Gita Govinda, Jayadev visited Vrindavan and lived his last in Jagannath Puri. He introduced daily reading of Gita Govinda in the temple for the pleasure of Lord Jagannath. Jayadev Goswami ki. So that's an interesting story of how Krishna can just appear. And there is a story also about a Muslim was traveling in a train, and he was going to a big concert to play a rag. I'm not sure what the instrument was he was using, but there's certain ragas, and you play in Indian music. You play these particular rags, and this little boy started playing on his flute, and the man was amazed because he'd never heard this rag before. And then he realized the boy was Krishna. So you can actually Google it in, the Krishna Rag, that this Muslim, you know that story? It's a Muslim traveling on the train, and there was a boy on the train, and it was actually Krishna. And he showed him the special Rag. And when he went to the concert, he played this Rag, and everybody was amazed because they'd never heard it before, you know. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktarinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktarinda. We're reading the Caitanya Caritamrta. This was written around 550 years ago, and it's describing the pastimes of Lord Caitanya. So this is verse 19. I'll just run through the Bengali. Krishna Vatse Anya Katai Shukadeva Vani Krishna Sangha Kata Gopa Shanka Nahi Jani. According to Shukadeva Goswami, Krishna has unlimited calves and cowhead boys with him. No one could count their actual number. Okay, so we can go through this one. Eka Gopa Kari Ye Vatsa Chalana Eka Gopa Kari Ye Vatsa Chalana Koti Abuda Shankha Padma tahara ganana koti abuda shanka padma tahara ganana eka eka gopakara yevatsa charana koti abuda shanka padma tahara ganana. Eka eka gopakare yevatsa charana kote abuda shanka padma tahara ganana. Gopakare yevatsa charana koti abuda shanka padma tahara ganana. Eka eka gopakare yevatsa charana kote abuda shanka padma tahara ganana. Eka eka, one after another. Gopa, cowhead boys. Kari, do. Yay, whatever. Vatsa, calves. Charana, grazing. Koti, 10 millions. Abuddha, 100 million. Shankar, 1 trillion. Padma, 10 trillion. Tahara Ganana, the enumeration of that. Each of the cowhead boys was tending calves to the extent of a koti, abuddha, shankar, and padma. That is the way of counting. Prabhupada ki jai. According to Vedic mathematical calculations, the following enumeration system is used in units: tens, dasa, hundreds, shata, thousands, sahasra, 10,000 achyuta, 100,000 laksha. 10 times laksha is niyuta, 10 times niyuta is koti, 10 times koti is abuddha, 10 times abuddha is brinda, 10 times brinda is kava, 10 times kava is nakava, 10 times nakava is shanka, 10 times shanka is padma, and 10 times padma is sagara. 10 times sagara is ancha, and 10 times ancha is majja, and 10 times majja is parada. Each item is 10 times greater than the previous one. Thus, all the cowhead boys who were companions of Krishna had many calves to take care of. Any questions? So, this may be a little unfamiliar to some, that for most people it's a big jump to just accept there's a God. Actually, it was nice yesterday. The Muslims were giving out Qurans up the road, and one came over, Sajid, and we were talking for a while. And he really liked, I was saying, well, there is only, people are thinking that they're the enjoyer, but actually they're servants. So you've got two choices in life. You're either God or you're a servant of God. So if you don't believe in God, then the only other person to be God is yourself. I suppose you could worship a footballer or a pop star or your dog. But generally, if the God post is unoccupied, someone else has got to take it. And God means the enjoyer, the center of everything, the controller. So if you accept that God is the one that's in control and he's the enjoyer, then you understand that you're the servant of God. So anyway, this was big news to him. He really liked it, and he thought that we have to, because he took a Bhagavad Gita and he said we should all read each other's books so that we can understand each other more, and there won't be so much fighting. And I noticed that I was around Pollock Shaw's and Pollock Shields Road the other day in Glasgow, and I met some Shoonis, some Sufis, some Shiads, and they were all very friendly. They're all very keen to want to share in in a non-aggressive way, which is what it was like in India before the British Empire came in and divided everything up. They all lived together nicely, and they respected each other. The Muslims would come along for the Janmashtami festivals, and the Hindus would come along for some of their festivals, and everything was very friendly and nice, you know. So for most people, it's a big jump to accept that there is a God and that we're His servants. That's like, but then moving on from that, not only is there a God, but He actually is a person. He's a blue cowherd boy, and He has millions and millions of cows. Now, it does refer in the Bible to the land of milk and honey. So in a land where there's milk and honey, then it means there must be cows, and there must be bees, and there must be flowers, and there must be grass, and there must be people to look after the cows. And so this is what the spiritual world is. So if you wanted to experience the spiritual world, rather than going into a big building, then if you went out into the cowherd pastures with some cows, then you'd get a glimpse of what it's like in the spiritual world. And a few bees flying around. Then you could have a divine experience. And that's why people like to get away from the city and go back into the countryside. The city is made by man, and the countryside is made by God. So you can compare the two, decide which one is the most pleasing. So because in the spiritual world everything is unlimited, I mean, I did hear actually that there's one philosophy, that the spiritual world is limited, and that when we get resurrected and saved, only 12,000 of us can go up into the spiritual world, because after that there won't be enough room for everybody. But spiritual world is unlimited. So there's unlimited cows and unlimited occupants in the spiritual world. So that's just us getting a little glimpse. So I'll read on. All the cowherd boys had unlimited calves. Similarly, their canes, flutes, lotus flowers, horns, garments, and ornaments were all unlimited. They cannot be limited by writing about them. The cowherd boys then became 400 Narayans, predominating deities of all Vaikuntha planets. All the separate Brahmas from different universes began to offer their prayers unto the Lord. All these transcendental bodies emanated from the body of Krishna, and within a second, they all entered again into his body. So sometimes Krishna is referred to as the fountainhead. He's just gushing emanations, incarnations, and living entities. The glow that you see around Krishna is called the Brahma Jyoti, and this is Krishna emanating souls. All the time he's creating life. Life is just coming out of him eternally. This is going on. So when the Lord Brahma from this universe saw this pastime, he was astonished and struck with wonder. After offering prayers, he gave the following conclusion. Lord Brahma said, if someone says that he knows everything about Krishna's opulence, let him think that way. But as far as I'm concerned, with my body and mind, I consider it in this way. My Lord, your opulence is like the ocean of nectar, and there is readily. There are people who say, I know everything about Krishna. Let them think that way. Say this much. As far as your opulence is concerned, they are all beyond the reach of my mind, body, and words. So Brahma controls the universe, and his mind contains the whole creation. Brahma is so powerful that he doesn't have to think, and he can create anything. He's saying this is a quotation from my Bible. He's spoken by Lord Brahma. I think that's sort of Lord Krishna's card. above our head, so she won't see anything. So through actual devotion and through chanting the holy name, as he reveals himself in imagining one feels love and attraction. But it's not enough to just believe in Krishna. If you just believe in Krishna, put them all together. And once Krishna reveals himself, will continue on day after day, year after year, decade after decade, giving you life to Krishna. However long we have are we thinking? Is he a concrete reality to us? And if well, there are some cities that were inspired, but the architecture is completely different. You know, the way that they're made have a whole different effect and a different aesthetic appeal. And you see in Glasgow, it's such a travesty. You see all these beautiful buildings, and they're from the streets straight to the lot. You know, like it's like a Tesla car. You know, as if we're going to be so futuristic that we don't bother with all this aesthetic nonsense now. We just make it straight. It's cheaper, it's quicker. That's what we're going for. Never mind all this mess about trying to carve little flowers on things. There's a beautiful place here called Krishna Sarovar, and the flowers are, you have like a vine going up on the pillar, and all the flower petals are done on the same piece of stone that you carved around, so you have the petals coming the way. There's a hole underneath for the petals attached there and there. And the easiest thing would have been to just take a petal carved out of stone and stick it on with some glue. It would have done really fast. But they did it so painstakingly, it just chipped away. It took so long to carve it and make it. And then inside, you see, they didn't have films in those days, so they would, when you went inside, there would be a pastime taking place. Krishna would be doing something, and then you look at the next picture, and there would be a later part of the pastime, and then another part. So as you're looking down, you're like seeing all the pastimes. And if you're in spiritual consciousness, then when you see that, you go into that realm, you go into that dimension. So much better than going to a cinema, because with the cinema you're watching something, Now they're trying to make it 3D so that when it's snowing, it looks like the snow's kind of pushing off the legs, with some special glasses. And they're trying to make the sound so that it's a more immersive, and that's like a materialistic way of doing it. But the spiritual way of doing it is you go into a domed building, you see the pastimes, and you've chanted 64 rounds. You've been chanting for 8 hours, so you're totally buzzing, and you look at this and you're just in the pastime. That's better than watching the film, because when the film finishes and you die, you don't go to the place where the film was showing you. But with Krishna's pastimes, when you become absorbed in them, when you die, that's where you go. You go into those pastimes. So what an amazing and valuable use of the human form of life, rather than frittering away time and wasting time, preparing yourself for the next life, an eternal life. That's what Krishna consciousness is. Yeah, so if you have a city and it's built according to the Ayurvedic regulations, there's a certain, and the city should be built next to a river, and there should be parks. There's all kinds of requirements to actually build a spiritual city, And then when you go into those types of cities, you don't feel like spraying graffiti on the side of the building, because you hate the building so much, and you hate the bus shelter because it's just so sparse and raw, the way everything's been built. Everything's nice. You see a nice bench, you see some litter, you take it off the ground, put it in the bin, because you want everything to look nice. So that's what it should be like. I've never been to Jaipur, but I heard Jaipur is very beautiful. It's called the Pink City. You've been to Jaipur? Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And everyone there's a devotee. They're all like totally fired up. They all come running up the hill for the Mangalarti and for deity greeting. They're just there. They've all got bead bags on. And they're all, yeah. But it's interesting, sometimes when we get away in the countryside, and I'm saying to my wife, Jackie, it looks like the grass has been vacuumed. It all looks so tidy and nice and clean, just by the natural order of things. And there's one place in Scotland, if you ever get a chance to go, it's Granton, which is by Aviemore. And if you go out into the forests there, the forests are how they've always been. They haven't been like messed up with, planting pine trees so they can chop them down and make money on them. They're actually just all different varieties of trees that have been growing there for, thousands of years. And you actually go into what a real forest looks like, and it's amazing how the natural order of things regulates everything. Everything is tidy and clean just by the. And then when man comes in, he interferes, and then things become messy. We're losing a forest the size of Wales in the Amazon every week, and you can't buy them back overnight, just so they can graze cattle to slaughter them, So the amount of karma, bad karma that is building up is phenomenal, And we're trying to counteract that by chanting the holy names, distributing spiritual food, festivals, book distribution, giving out scriptures, holy scriptures, to try and purify the atmosphere, But I think there's more and more of an awakening now. The young people are more and more conscious of what sustainability has to be like, At the present moment, we're producing a mountain the size of Mount Everest every month of non-biodegradable rubbish globally. And that can't go anywhere. It just sits there and rots. Or they stick it in the sea, and then in the sea it all accumulates, and it's formed a continent the size of France, of just all plastics that have accumulated. And because of that, the sunlight can't get in to the ocean, and all these weird things are growing, and it's messing up the whole ecosystem of the planet. So there was one shop we went to in Grantham at Christmas when we were fundraising, and they were very friendly. They gave a nice donation, and there's no containers in the shop. Everything you want, you have to go in with a bucket, and then if you want rice, you pull the thing up, and then you weigh how much it is in the bucket. And there's no packaging involved, and that's the way people want to go now. The amount of, you think of all the different things that come in boxes, and the boxes are to make the thing look good. And then when you get it back, you open the box, and it's only half full. All that space is wasted. All that packaging is wasted. And that's going on all over, you know. So the more we can get away from packaging, we can help the planet. And we have to start by helping ourselves. We have to come up into spiritual consciousness so that we can appreciate when things are out of place, and we can help to rectify things. Any other questions and comments? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if you ever hang out with cows for some time, it's a human being gives an aura of about 3 meters. So if someone's like a really toxic person, and you go near him within 3 meters, and the aura, it affects your consciousness. It's not to go down, you know. And if you're in the aura of someone that's in good consciousness, then you start feeling happy, you know. A cow has an aura of 30 meters. Dina Bandhu was telling us, you know, down from India, he's got a goshaw there, 30 meters. If you've got a field of happy cows, that means the whole town's going to be happy, even though they don't know why. Because the cows, they're all chewing the grass. They all know they're being protected. They know they're not going to get slaughtered. Their little calf is with them. Everyone's fine. Everyone's happy. You look after the cow, then the planet looks after you automatically, you know. So if you ever, when we were in Bangladesh, my wife and I, we got a chance to milk a cow, and it's a beautiful, like kind of golden colored cow, and we were milking it. And afterwards, we felt really purified, like we just chanted 16 rounds or something, you know. Because when you milk the cow, it feels pleasure because there's pressure on it, and you're carrying all that round. And when you and sometimes what a cow will do, because they can't hug you, what they do is to hug you, that shows that they're pleased, and they're trying to show you that they appreciate you. You know? That's how a cow hugs you. Such beautiful creatures. And there is plans that we will get cows here. And Shamasundar Prabhu, he's in charge of the cows in Europe. I think he's the head of it. And he said that whenever a place gets cows, generally automatically everything else flourishes, you know. So we've built a goshaw down there, and it's big enough to take about 8 or 9 cows. And if that goes well, then we can take it from there, you know. That's the plan. So our relationship with the planet is based upon our relationship with the cow. The cow is the personification of the earth, Mother Earth. Bhumi is the cow. So if you love the cow and you protect the cow, then the earth will love and protect you. And there won't be disease, there won't be disturbance, the weather will be good, and the vegetables will be nutritious. They're finding this new type of eco solution now to the deserts on the borders of India. It goes into the Rajasthan desert. What they're doing is they're just putting herds of cows there, and the cows' droppings goes onto the sand. Then after a while, from that, things start to grow, and then the fertile land starts to expand. Wherever they put cows, everything starts to become very lush and verdant, because the dung is so nutritious, so good. Once that's been there for a while, you can grow anything on top of it. So you have cows, then you'll have good, and then so if you have them on one field, then the next year you put them in a different field, and on that field, then you can farm, then it becomes fertilized, and you get very nice vegetables. And in so many ways, the cow is beneficial for human society. So if you harm the cow in any way, then you will suffer for it. And the more you protect and look after the cow, automatically the earth will be pleased, and you'll have a healthy life, a happy life. Jai. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, there's different components. So say one day you're chanting and you've got yellow socks on, and you're standing on one leg and you're chanting and it's going really good. You think, this is amazing. So the next day you're in the temple and you put your yellow socks on again, and you stand on one leg and you're chanting, and it doesn't work, because the other element in the scientific process is you need surrender. And as soon as you start to try to exploit the situation and think, okay, if I do this, this, and that, then Krishna will be forced to give me the result that I want. As soon as you do that, then you're becoming exploitative. You're trying to use Krishna as a commodity, and then Krishna steps back and he goes, no. I gave you the result yesterday because I was pleased with you, but if you don't want to please me today, if you've missed out that element. And so that's why Krishna's always changing the goalposts. So this works one day, and then the next day, oh, that's not working. Okay, what do I need to do today to please Krishna? Yesterday that pleased Krishna. Today Krishna wants something else from me to please him, And that way he's always keeping us on our toes, so that we don't relax and become complacent. And we don't treat Krishna like our order supplier. I just have to turn up at church. Oh, forgive my sins, give me my daily bread, thank you. And then we just go out there and we just think we're going to get everything that Krishna wants, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, moment by moment, that we're surrendering and depending on him all the time. And that takes some time to get to that. That stage of getting there is called anartha nivritti, which is where you're trying to stop doing things that are disconnecting you from Krishna. And when you've removed 75% of them, then you stay connected all the time to Krishna. And that stage is called nishta. Then you're fixed every moment, practically. Every now and again something will come in, but pretty much you're fixed. And then from there, then the next stage up is ruchi. And when you reach ruchi, then it said it's like a man running in a river, and then he suddenly comes out of the river. So you can imagine, when you're running in the river, you're not going to be getting very far. You're running like anything. You're hardly making any. And then suddenly you come out the river and off you go, up the bank. Because there's nothing dragging you back anymore. That's the stage of ruchi. So then everything works fine. and so until then, so yesterday you did this and it worked, and you removed that unwanted thing in the heart. And now today, there's another unwanted thing, and you have to do something different to get rid of that unwanted thing in your heart. Yesterday, you had that unwanted thing in your heart, but that's okay, because at least you got rid of that other thing. But today, now you got rid of that other thing, but now this is the new thing that's Krishna wants you to get rid of in your heart. So every day, particle by particle, he removes the unwanted things, and then we get to the point where we're nishta. And nishta means you're majjhima adhikari, means you don't fall down. Once you're majjhima adhikaris, they preach, they see the devotee, they see the non-devotee, the envious, and they see Krishna. They see all those four things. So the majjhima adhikari, you drop him off in the town, and he knows right away where the devotees are. He can go right over to the devotee. Excuse me, I'm passing these books out today. That's what happens. Like yesterday, you met somebody. That person was a devotee. And as soon as you meet a devotee on Sankirtan is when you're doing book distribution. It's very, very enlivening. You realize the Hare Krishna movement isn't limited to 10 people in a house in Les Mahego. The Hare Krishna movement is going on all over the country. And these people are devotees. And Krishna's going to send you out to engage them and connect them. That's an amazing service. When you're a Majjhima Adhikari, you can be standing on the street and there's 5 million people walking down and you see somebody and you're like, I don't know what it is, but I think that person, you go to that, excuse me, he goes, wow, Bhagavad Gita. I've been looking for a Bhagavad Gita for years. Can I give you £1,000? Is that okay? That's what happens when you're a Majjhima Adhikari. That's when the fun starts. That's when Sankirtan gets really interesting because you get dropped off and you're like, okay, again. Oh, you meet the right person, you say the right thing. That's Majjhima Adhikari. And then if you become an Uttama Adhikari acting as a Majjhima Adhikari, then I could take you, I can drop you in Russia, and you would walk across the Red Square in Moscow, and you would bump into somebody that was going to become a devotee for the rest of his life, like happened to Gandaki when he gave somebody an invitation, and that person became a devotee, you know. So if you're an Uttama Majjhima Adhikari like Gandaki, then when you get dropped off somewhere, you'll meet the right person at just the right time, because Krishna will have arranged it. Okay, I'm going to have this person coming into town. I want you to meet him at 12:40 and engage him in devotional service. It's that precise. It's all worked out so scientifically. So the surrendering process is through inner purification. How can I get to the point where Krishna can use me as his instrument all the time? You know, there's no false ego involved. Not did you see that? I passed out that book. I met him. The person was great, but I mean, he was great, but I was even greater because I was the one that did it. You know, so okay, he's good, but never mind him. I'm the one. You know? And like that, then Krishna's like, okay, well, we can't use you tomorrow. This is going to happen. We're going to have to wait until you're a bit more purified. Yeah, what's interesting, see, Krishna can be surprised. You can surprise Krishna. It's like, oh, wow. But you can't surprise Narayan, because Narayan knows what's going to happen before you even do it. You know, if you go up to Narayan and you go to say, and Narayan's like, I know what you're going to say. And I know you've got a little package there with a chocolate box for me. You know, so it's all in reverence. You know that he knows everything before you even do it. So because of that, everything is just... But with Krishna, it's more intimate. Krishna was like, oh, wow. You know? When Gop Kamal went back to the spiritual world eventually, Krishna ran to grab him, you know, and then he says to Gop Kamal, why did you take so long? I've been waiting for you for so long. You know? Narayan wouldn't say that, because Narayan, he's not waiting. Narayan just, he knows when it's going to happen, and it happens. That's it. But Krishna's like, why did you take so long? So Krishna, he gives up his godhead. He gives up being God. Because being God isn't that much fun, but being a person is fun. So he casts aside his godhead so that he can have just a personal relationship, so he can just be a person. They're like all these famous people. They don't like people just, oh, wow, can I have your autograph? Oh, wow, he just coughed. That was amazing. Can I photograph you doing that cough? Oh, that was far out. Did you see that? You know, they want to just go to an island somewhere where nobody knows them and they can just be a normal guy. So that's what God is like also. You know, when all the cowherd boys were playing with him, the demigods came down and they were offering prayers. And Brahma was there, you know. One of the cowherd boys, he goes up to Krishna and he flicks his peacock fan because there was some dust on his peacock. And all the demigods were, what are you doing? And then and Krishna's just bored. He's like, Brahma, can you hurry up with the prayers? I've got a picnic here. I want to carry on with my lunch. You know, you're just interfering with it. And then he gets rid of them. And then he's back to just playing around again, you know. So that's what God's like. He just wants to be a person. He doesn't want to be seen as God. He just wants everyone to love him. And he wants to love everybody in return. Just have loving exchanges. First of all, God was on his own. And he was just there and he was thinking, this is pretty boring. So then he expanded himself into many so that he could enjoy. He can have rasa, interaction with the devotees. And that's why it's such a blasphemy of God to say that God would put the living entity into hell for eternity. It's such a blasphemy because God's all-knowing. So why would he create 9/10 of the living entities to spend the rest of eternity writhing around in a lake of fire? And he's just there with a few guys up in the spiritual world having a great time, and in the distance he can hear. And because he's all cognizant, he can't not hear people screaming, oh, and they're going to be like that forever. Why would God create the majority of living entities to suffer if he's all-knowing? It's just so foolish, Because he's all perfect and all-knowing, everybody eventually will go back to Krishna. Of course, at the same time, those people are falling away, but nobody will stay in the material world permanently. Everyone at some point will go back. So Krishna created us knowing eventually, ultimately, we'll be in a perfect situation with him. And then in between, there's some people that fall into the prison house, but even they don't stay in the prison house forever. They come out. The prison house is always there because there's always somebody else falling down and going in. But nobody stays in the prison house forever. So that's perfect. So if you present that, imagine going around the schools and you could say, well, this is God, he's a little cowhead boy, that's his friend there, he's a cow, and he's really a lovely person, and eventually everybody will go back and be with him. That's a lot more attractive, isn't it? A lot more appealing. When I was a kid, they were talking about Jesus and the burning bush and the parting sea, and I was thinking, well, that's okay for you guys. You can all believe in God because Jesus was there doing the miracles. But we don't get to see the miracles. This is 2,000 years later, and we're supposed to believe in God the same, That's unfair, And little did I know that just around the corner, I was going to meet somebody else like Jesus, Srila Prabhupada. So Krishna was very kind, I get to meet a Messiah through his books and his lectures and his devotees and his society. Somebody that's intimately connected with God and has come down to disseminate the knowledge about God. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, so the question generally always with young devotees is how can I speed up the process? That's basically what it comes down to. How can I make progress more quickly? And Rupa Goswami is saying, Utsahan Nishyat Dariyat. Be enthusiastic, be confident, and then be patient. So the be patient bit is the hard part because we're result orientated. So if we're really enthusiastic and we do things confidently and then we don't get the result, then we become impatient. So that's the third test. The first test is, are you going to be enthusiastic? Yeah, I'm going to be enthusiastic. Are you going to be confident? Yeah, I'm going to be confident. Are you going to be patient? Yeah, for half an hour. Or about after half an hour. Well, after half an hour, I'm getting a bit impatient with being patient, to tell you the truth. Can you be patient for 10 years? Yeah, if we're patient without any agenda, then we're not like, I'll be patient as long as this happens, And then you're like, like that Brahmin who was asking, when am I going to go back to Godhead? And then when he said, oh, well, Narayan said, you'll go back to Godhead in as many lifetimes as there are leaves on the banyan tree. And then the Brahmin said, you are bogus. You are so bogus. So because he was like trying to tie Krishna down and kind of intimidate Krishna. I've done the puja, I've chanted, I've given out the books, you must come up with the goods now, That really puts Krishna off. He just wants you to be patient and just in a very steadily and devoted way continue on. And it may be that in this lifetime you don't experience bhav or prema, but the one good thing is, you see, if you give this life and at the end of it you're only 50% there, Srila Prabhupada has promised, he's drawn up a covenant with Krishna, 4 eggs, 16 rounds, and a life of devotional service. So even if you're way, way off the mark, because you did that, then you get to call the shots. At the time of death, you get to say, oh, I think I'd like to go to a planet, or I'd like to go to heavenly planets, or I'd like to take birth in this one. You get a chance to choose that. Because that's the special benediction you get from Srila Prabhupada and Lord Caitanya. You're just giving this one lifetime. So then you can, if you have that faith, then you can be patient. If you're not getting the bhav, and you're not getting the ecstasy, and you're not experiencing anything, then that's okay. I'm in this for one lifetime. And if you're thinking, well, I don't mind doing this for a few years, but I'll be expecting after 10 years to have a few disciples. Maybe I'll be a sannyasi. Probably read a few books and done a few YouTube videos. I'm okay with that. But that's like a predetermined agenda that you have. And then after 10 years, you're there peeling the potatoes in the corner of the temple, and nobody knows you, and you're a nothing. Then you want to give up, So it has to be that there's no preconceived agenda of what it is you're expecting. You're just happy. I'm going to give this lifetime. I've got faith that what Prabhupada said is true. And if there's no ecstasy, there's no ecstasy. That's okay. Jai. Iskon Gurunde ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Gaura Premanandi Hari Bol.